The faith of Salvationists in Zimbabwe is great, because you find that they have to walk long distances to the places of worship, and they have no easy means of convenience, and yet they are there at the time for the meetings. Sometimes the meetings finish very late, and yet they have to walk those distances back to their respective homes. And of course, as far as dedication is concerned, one would be proud in that we have those that have to give themselves to doing extra duties as required by the Salvation Army on Kwa level. The Salvation Army is involved in education, is involved in medical and social work. And in education, we find that we still have got a good contact with our young people, some of whom have taken their places to head some of our big secondary schools. And medically, of course, we have a privilege of preaching the word and also to see that people physically are cared for. And of course, we've got social homes, home for the aged, and the like, and we are grateful that we feel we're doing something for the kingdom of God in this part of the world. Statistically, we have got 11 divisions with at least about 240 plus corps and societies, which of course is a great number statistically. And soldiery-wise, we are over 50,000. But then the growth, of course, I would consider the spiritual growth, whereby I think we have got people who are fully dedicated, and some of whom are prepared even to spend, be it money-wise, to help the work grow, and of which we are thankful to God of. Well, a typical corps would say it is a corps that has got a hall, corps officers' quarters, and a full program which would cater for both adults and the young people, and also involved deeply on evangelical work and other things like adult education. Then this would be a typical corps. The difference, of course, would be outward features. Perhaps it would be uniform, but with the same aces, and singing. Well, we sing, and because we feel singing is part of worship. And also in our meetings, when there is time for testimonies, our people are really on fire. They are ready to testify. It can go on and on and on. And also in giving, offering, well, I found that here, of course, it is done, and although there could be so many people in the hall, it takes just a reasonable amount of time. But at home, it would go on for quite a longer time. You know, as a Corps officer too, to see that I was involved on grassroots dealing with people and leading them to Christ, I think that has been something. And also too that when I went to Zambia, well, of course, it was not that easy, but I thank God because the efforts that were able to put on to impress upon the people in Zambia, well, I was pleased to see their spiritual growth. And as such, just before we left, it was quite interesting to hear that it was going to be upgraded to a status of a territory. That was really something worthwhile as far as I'm concerned.
The Army's work in Zambia is growing very strong indeed. Since it has been made a territory, it has now developed into many other places, and as far as Malawi is joined to us now, and that makes us work very hard in trying to reach all those people. And also we have some medical work going on in this territory. We have work at Chikangata Hospital, and we've got educational work also going on in this territory. We have a big secondary school at Chikangata and also a primary school at Ibwe-Mnyama. And from these centers, we also have the field work, which is the core work. And we have, say, 7 divisions. That's to say 2 divisions and 5 districts in this territory. The recent developments at Chikangata are as follows. We have had a leprosy wing built, and this was opened by the General in November last year. We have also had the nutrition village built, and also at the moment one of our chief medical officers, Captain Dr. Ian Campbell, is an Australian, has really embarked on the AIDS program, which has gained the world recognition, and this is taking ground and very well indeed, in so much that at one point Dr. Ian Campbell has been called to London for a conference on the World Health Organization to describe how it is taking off ground in Zambia. And in many places we have had a program known as the home-based care, whereby the hospital is also followed in at places where it is required. And also we have had a mind of building a unit for the patients who may be very much involved in these AIDS to come to the hospital, and also their parents or relatives come and see them there. This is what we are embarking on some of those developments. We have developed also not only on Chikangata, but even in the territorial headquarters, some new offices have been built and some new departments have been added there to cater for new offices in the new territory. The army is growing tremendously in Zambia in many ways. It has grown spiritually, it has grown also in its core work, it has grown in its buildings, it has grown in its numbers. Statistically, the army has grown from a very small beginning, from being a command. We are now a territory with 265 centers, that is in core and societies included. And we also have in that growth 2 divisions that have come up and 5 districts. A typical corps in Zambia is a corps that I would say is a corps with a corps officer, a hall and quarters, and a full program of the corps from senior to youth. And this corps has got its own activities going on right through the week, and they conduct meetings on a Sunday, say 2 meetings. That's the holiness meeting and the salvation meeting. And before those 2, there must be a Sunday school for the young ones. Malawi is growing tremendously in so much that we have now 39 centers and a divisional commander, and 26 officers who are there. Most of these officers were trained in Zimbabwe, and I happened to have been the training principal by the time these youngsters came to train. And as I am linked with them now as their chief secretary, I feel very much pleased that I can also give them any encouragement that is needed, and also seeing them grow spiritually. This badge on my uniform tells me that I'm an officer over 25 years. When I got up to the 25 years of service, I got this badge.
In Ghana, the territory is divided into divisions and districts. We have 4 divisions, and we have 3 districts and 1 region. We have schools, and we have clinics. We have 6 clinics, and we have schools as well. I'll make it about 10 years now. The growth of the Salvation Army in Ghana is very rapidly, in the sense that we have a program, the New Life for All program, which is a challenge to all the churches in Ghana, especially Salvation Army. And we have taken this challenge. Again, we have seen that the response for officership has been more encouraging these days. And so if we don't take this program, it's going to be very difficult for us to get a place for officers who are commissioned from the training college. So every corps officer has a program, in the sense that they train the local officers, and they take the challenge to open places in all angles. Recently, the division which I was in until I came to headquarters, we moved to northern Ghana, a place where we have never thought of going. It's all Muslims, and we were thinking of the language problem, thinking of many, many things, but it wasn't so when we moved to Tamale, which is the northern part of Ghana, and we now open a place there. At the moment, we don't have problem with the call to be officers. It used to be very difficult, in the sense that I would say those who are well educated, they were thinking of their salary, the officers' salary wasn't all that encouraging, so they were thinking of their salaries. And again, leaving the work probably they were doing for the government or so, where probably they, at the end of their work, at the probably retirement, they have something we call it gratuity pension, which is, in fact is a very great amount, and they were thinking of all that kind of benefits. But as I say, this time because of the evangelical work we are doing, more young people are taking the challenge, and we don't have enough room even for officers. Otherwise, we can take more than 50, more than 60, even 100 we can take. But we have accommodation for up to 30. So at the time I left Ghana, we have 30 cadets in college. A typical corps in Ghana will be, I'll make one as an example, Accra, where we have the model corps. We have about 200 comrades, and we have a band of about 15 pieces of instruments. The songsters will be about 20. This is a typical corps, probably I can say we have in Ghana, and it's all over. Most of the corps has band, not very much, about 15, about 10, about 6, and almost all the leading corps has songsters also to help. My highlights as an officer, I will make it to be with the people. As corps officer, well, I have in touch with all the people. I was glad to be among the people, visiting people, and again, when I was a divisional commander, you are always with the people. These are some of the highlights that I had as an officer.
The Salvation Army has been in South Africa itself for 105 years. I think prior to that, there was that Salvation Army activity on St. Helena, the island which is part of the Southern Africa territory. And then more recently, within the last 12 months or so, the Salvation Army has been officially recognised in the country of Mozambique.
There are no more churches now being registered in that country, so we feel this is a great privilege. We've been given land in which to develop the army with buildings, and we have many enthusiastic people waiting to get going in Mozambique. So that is a wonderful step forward. Last year, a clinic was opened in Swaziland. Swaziland is a little kingdom all of its own, not really ruled by South Africa. And here, Major Hilda Sigley from the Eastern Territory is operating a clinic for the needy people in that area. We are also now working in the THQ building with the training college, a new step forward with an integrated training college in the THQ building. And the buildings that were used for the training college are going to be used for the handicapped children as a home and a place where they'll be able to get help and therapy. So there is a lot of development, but those perhaps are some of the main ones.
We have a good representation of the Salvation Army in both in corps work, in social work, and various community activities. And the work of the Army is being noticed and appreciated by civic leaders and the government there in South Africa and its neighbouring countries. The one unique point as far as South Africa is concerned might be our Mountain View settlement. This was a very large piece of land that was bought by the founder in the long, long ago. I think it goes back to the early 1900s. And there we have what we call the Mountain View Settlement. And the purpose of this land was to enable Salvationists who might encounter persecution in their normal situation, particularly in what were heathen villages in those days, to leave those villages and to come onto land owned by the Salvation Army and there to set up their homes. And so for 80 years or so, people have been living on this Mountain View Settlement, which is a very picturesque part of northern Zulu land. And there the people keep their cattle, built their homes. The Salvation Army has a school and a hospital, and it's almost a little self-contained community there. If we look at core in the Southern Africa Territory, we'd have to say that there are three sort of typical types of core. We have our normal white core, which have an expression very, very much like core, say, here in Australia. We'll have our bands and our songster brigades. There'll be the youth sections with junior soldiers and corps cadets. There'll be the over 60s club, and in many of them too, the life-saving organisations in that way. But apart from the white corps, we have what the black corps, and then the black corps can be further divided into the rural black corps and the urban black corps. The rural black corps won't have any electricity to their hall, and so all the activities are done in the daytime. There are no night meetings, whereas in the urban areas, the black corps would be more or less a replica of what the white corps are. But one of these extra things that our black corps are being involved in, both in the urban areas and in the rural areas, child minding centres, creches, where there seems to be a need for children who have not yet started school to be taken care of just before school age. And so this these childcare centres have been established at quite a few of our corps. I said that in both rural and urban, but I must say that there's really more in the urban areas. One of the things that I've already mentioned regarding the White Corps is the Goodwill Centre, and this is something that might be a little bit different from what we find here in Australia. But apart from the restrictions that might be put on in a rural corps because of lack of certain facilities, the expression of the Salvation Army in its totality is very much similar to what we might find here in Australia.
At the moment we have 20 cadets in our training college, 11 black and 9 white. 4 of these are married couples and 1 single young woman. This is the biggest session for some time, so we are told, and there is a need, yes, a very great need for white and black officers. If the work is going to grow and maintain high standards, then we definitely need more officers in South Africa.
In South Africa there's more than one language used. The official languages are English and Afrikaans, but also amongst the Africans we might go to Zulu and Xhosa and various other Bantu languages. Now, as we have officers, we need to have officers who can serve in various language areas. And from a government point of view, any officer appointed to our social work, men's hostels, children's homes, must be bilingual in English and Afrikaans. And so it is necessary that we get our officers from within South Africa so they meet the language requirements, rather than the territory being dependent on those who come into the country from other territories. That includes us too, of course. I could add to that I don't think in South Africa we could maintain the work amongst the Africans, the black people, in the same way as we're doing now, if it were not for the OSM's appeal, or Missionary Appeal, because although much of our white work is self-supporting, yet the work amongst the black people is not. And so this is where we're dependent on the OSTEM's money to come into the territory.
The Australian self-denial appeal is vital in Ghana because we need money at this period where when we open outposts or societies, we find it very difficult to get a place of worship. And so we rather go to schools, somewhere, a church school or state school, and it's very difficult. Not always that they do allow us to hold our meetings in the schools. So we need money for this kind of our program.
I feel the Australian Missionary Appeal is important in Zambia because it has really helped us in many ways, and for some reasons that are beyond our control. Some areas have been very, very much hard hit by drought, and so much that people needed some water, and this missionary appeal that has come to us has helped us sink some wells in the communities to have them get water, clean, safe water, for health reasons, and also for our clinics that are in the rural areas. And it has also encouraged our people to know that they've got brothers and sisters somewhere overseas in the world who have advanced their love, and so much that they've stretched their love to giving them something that is worthwhile. And this has made them to also have that kind of a spirit for wanting to give or to increase their giving. This has helped us tremendously in many ways.
Without the appeal, I cannot see how we would have managed some of our projects. For instance, when we just an instance, it's about the public relations department. Then we have, just to quote one thing, that transportation, that is car provided from the Australian missionary appeals.